The election results consolidated opposition to Sunningdale and signalled the inevitability of a move to active protest. The decision was made that this action should take the form of a strike. The following testimonies begin with a consideration of why this form of action was chosen, before a series of reflections on the everyday experiences of schoolchildren and workers during the stoppage.
Speaking with my colleague, or my comrade, Brian Garrett, he said that they used the term to him, the constitutional stoppage, not a strike. Well, it clearly wasn't an official strike. If it wasn't an official strike, then it's an unofficial strike. Far better to call it a constitutional stoppage.
And again, if you think about it, and you mentioned the Ulster Worker Council strike, and like, so they had quite a few jobs in the powerful areas, the powerful industries that could bring this place to a standstill or whatever. If you were sitting on the other side, you'd be saying, well, look, this is the very reason why we are. People can walk out of their work and the whole place closes down because they've got all the jobs. But that's a very simplistic way, but it's a very real way that people looked at it at the time. But I've learned that Protestant working class areas had many of their own difficulties and struggles as well.
I think it's because they could shut business down. They could cripple the economy here. We had big industries at that time, as I said, the trade unions movements. So, I think it was a way of saying, we have the power. This is what we can do.
Well, I don't think the unionist leaders chose that as a form of action. I think it was a grassroots thing that emerged within, trade union circles, or people who were organised in trade unions, and they understood trade union structure. They understood mobilising working people, particularly in strategic industries, the power industry being the obvious one.
I always remember it was first year, and my friend and I were at the front of the bus gabbing the bus driver, because I'd be very quiet, shy and reserved, But I can remember coming to the boys' model, and there was a UDA checkpoint there. And because I was at the front of the bus, you're sort of looking and going, and all these guys, and some with guns and balaclavas and that on. And one got onto the bus, and he says to the bus driver, he grabbed me and the other girl and put the gun to us and said, "Get all these effing kids off the bus." And I can remember just being standing there petrified, and a bus driver shouting to kids, "You've got to get off the bus quickly." And people starting to go off the bus, and another guy coming along and saying, "What are you doing?" And he says, "Getting the kids off the bus, we'll take the bus." And he goes, "Get them kids back on the effing bus." And he says to the driver, "Get them kids back and don't be coming back here tomorrow, or we won't be as lenient, or we won't whatever." And I can remember being gobsmacked on the bus and not kind of saying I can remember the bus being totally quiet. Now, a double-decker bus with as many school kids that was rammed on there, I'd never heard it quiet. The place was just quiet. Total silence on the bus. And you could hear sobbing.
We did become aware of what was happening. Probably because, because we were off school. We went to school, but the teachers let a walkout of the school that we were at Templemore. And, we had to walk home then. I remember that because we had no school bus. So I suppose we were aware of what was happening, but again, it seemed to be a very slow burner at the start.
So a number of us got together and said, "Whoa, we're not going to school." What we did was we went into school, mounted a protest, and all immediately got up on a given time that we'd all pre-arranged and just completely marched out of school. And you had all the teachers across the playground towards the front gates. Right, all back into class. Aye, no chance. Steamrolled over the top of them. So it did. Steamrolled over the top of them. No, didn't go back to school at all until the strike was called off. In actual fact, not taking any glorification of any of this, but what did we do? We marched to the local Catholic school and smashed all the windows. That was the response.
And so we go into the Ulster Workers' Council strike. Now, I was really afraid during that period. I got into school most days, and what I would do was I would take my car as far as Bangor, and then one of the teachers there would pick me up. And you would go through various barricades, and for the most part, they were fine. You said, you said, look, you were going into teaching school. Their response was, I wish I had got an education, which is fair enough. But during that period, I had published my book on the people's democracy. I'd done a television interview about it, which raised the profile again in the school. And then I was asked to go for an interview at the Ulster Polytechnic. Now, I remember going for that interview, which was at the height of the UWC strike, and having to negotiate my way past. I don't know, you exaggerate the number of barricades you went through, but you certainly went through several barricades, and you do worry. I went through and did the interview, and so I left Annandale, having done my 2 years, and moved to the Polytechnic.
So we went to work every single day of the strike. But every single day were stopped at least 2 or 3 times to get from Newtonards to Belfast to Stormont. It was a very intimidating experience because, obviously my father was conscious that we were Catholics. And although they'd given us this because they thought it was a benefit, they didn't know what religion I was. But we were terrified that if they found out that what could happen to us. But my father was determined to go to work every day, and I was determined to go to work if I could.